What's good, my man of society? It is your host with the most shadow look back at you with another video. Make sure you guys like, comment, and are subscribed to the channel. It's absolutely free. That is how you help my channel get into the algorithm. Highly appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Now, what I wanted to discuss was Vlad TV, right? Vlad, popular individual on YouTube who conducts interviews not only on rappers but athletes, celebrities, wrestlers, and pretty much anybody that's in the spotlight. Now, even YouTubers. Now, with Vlad, he's had a lot of, controversy, following him, right? A lot of people say that, his channel works with the law enforcement, that, he's somebody who just likes to stir up shit and cause, drama between, the black community or brown community or, minorities in general, right? And, a whole lot of backlash. Now, in my personal opinion, Vlad is a journalist, right, who's just looking to get the big scoop, the big story. What people want to hear, the juicy stuff, right? Drama, beefs, and, etc. Now, Vlad's job is to ask people the questions that people want to know, right? Which is most likely, drama related or gossipy. Let's just, people love gossip. So he's going to ask. Now, it's up to the individuals if they're going to want to answer the questions or not. They don't have to answer them. Vlad can't force them to answer them. You get what I'm saying? So it's not his fault if they decide to speak on shit that they shouldn't be speaking on, or the drama in general. Now they speak on it, then that's all falls on them. So he has started controversy between rappers, wrestlers. Now like Booker T and other wrestlers and Maven and John Cena. He's trying to poke the bear. And the thing is that if you're going on his show, these are the questions that he's going to want to ask and know about, right? This is the reason why he's pretty much bringing you on a board. The shit that's going to bring views, the shit that's going to cause, conversations in the comments, which is all the, controversy stuff. So, people can't be all that surprised when they're going there. It's like, what did you think he was going to ask you? Like, obviously he was going to ask you about this shit. You get what I mean? Because that's his job, to bring in views. You know what I mean? It's not like he's, forcing these people to say whatever they're saying. That falls all on them. So he's just doing his job. You get what I mean? Now I admit, it's he doesn't have to ask those kind of questions, and why does he have to go there? But it's the stuff that's going to bring views, because without him asking these questions, nobody would want to watch the videos, right? Like there was this one time he brought in an ex-Italian mob member, and he refused to answer any questions. So it's like, so why did you go to the interview if you weren't willing to answer none of the questions? And why are you there? You know what I mean? And that whole interview was boring as hell, right? Because it pretty much was just like, next question. And it's like, well, why did you go on there then if you weren't willing to answer no questions? And, it left Vlad like, well, hardly any questions to ask him. So, so that interview really didn't get any views at all. You know what I mean? So it's like, why did you go then if you weren't willing to answer no questions? If you weren't willing to talk about none of this shit, then I would have never accepted the interview to begin with. I get it. Some people, accept the interview because it gives them a broader audience, right? More people to, for them to see whatever they're pushing, whatever they're promoting or doing at the time, right? But obviously it's going to come with some of these questions. But like I said, you don't have to answer them, right? And you guys can go and talk about other stuff if you do have other stuff that you are now doing, whatever, right? So I get it from that perspective, right? But most people tend to fall into talking about the drama. But like I said, that's not Vlad's fault. For people to be, mad at Vlad for that. And of course, people are aware that law enforcement watches, but that's not on Vlad either. He can't control what law enforcement watches. You know what I mean? So he's just doing his job. He's a civilian. He don't have to follow no rules or live by no rules or nothing like that. He's not from the streets. Why should he follow those rules or live by that conduct? You get what I'm saying? He's just a civilian, so people can't be all that shocked, that he's going to want to dive into this and that. And, he should know better. Like, why? He's not from the streets, bro. Why should he follow those rules? If he would have wanted to follow those rules, then he would have just gone and go join a gang. And you can't be mad at that, because you chose to, speak on shit you shouldn't be speaking about. You're the one that should know the rules. You get what I'm saying? But overall, that's just my perspective on Vlad. When him diving into, topics, because Booker T was mad that, these wrestlers allowed Vlad to go into these topics, and he was saying that, that's the reason he didn't go on there, because he knows he likes to, stir up, black on black, violence and shit like that. But it's not like, it's not like that's his game plan or whatever. But this is the stuff that people want to watch and see, because it's the shit that people are drawn to, drama and gossip. As much as people want to deny that they're not interested in that, I mean, a lot of people, that's the only reason why they tap in. And that's the cold-hearted truth. But overall, there's my opinions. What do you think? Leave it in the comments. Shadow, we out.